Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Sunday, May 17th, 2015, around 4:10 in the afternoon in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's very nice and sunny, highs in the mid-80s, a little bit humid, a little taste of summer. The rest of the week's supposed to be springtime air, but no significant rain in sight. We need the rain to clear out the air and get these allergies down, because with the record-breaking snow we had, most of the snow was dry, and that did not put a dent to clear the air. So we're kind of in a serious drought. Some news to report. Atlanta Braves pitcher Shelby Miller was 1 out away from pitching the first no-hitter of 2015, but it was broken up. But he still won the game by beating the Marlins. And after the game, the Marlins fired manager Mike Redmond. Marlins have been disappointing so far this year, even though a lot of people were saying that the Marlins was going to be like a dark horse this year in the National League. But I have to see it to believe it, because every time they pick the Marlins to be a dark horse for winning a division or a wild card, they usually flop big time. And that's about it on the news. My next subject is about one of the most famous television characters of all time. This is the second video blog I'm doing about a television character. This television character was on the show Happy Days for 11 seasons, all 11 seasons. I'm talking about Arthut Fonzarelli, also nicknamed the Fonz or Fonzie. Arthut Fonzarelli was played by actor Henry Winkler, and he was basically the big character on Happy Days, even though originally he was going to be a secondary character on the sitcom Happy Days. And here's the background on how the Fonz character was developed. Gary Marshall, who created Happy Days, was looking for a character to be like kind of a brother type figure to Richie Cunningham and Potsy Weber and Ralph Malph, and he was going to name this character Arthur Fonzarelli, but he could not use the name Fonzarelli, because actually that would have been confusing with MASH, because back at that time in the early 70s, the TV sitcom MASH was real popular on CBS, and he did not want to get that confused with it. Plus, he was afraid of a possible lawsuit by 20th Century Fox. So he cast a character named Arthut Fonzarelli, also Fonzie and stuff. And Gary's original choice for Fonzie was actor Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees fame. He actually saw potential of like Mickey to be the Fonz on an episode of the classic TV drama Adam 12, when he saw like Mickey Dolenz play a character of a biker. And when Mickey tried out for the Fonz character, he was like several inches taller than the other cast members, and Gary Marshall did not really like that. He said that would have been, he just wanted all the cast members to be like at the same height and stuff, so he discarded Mickey Dolenz as a character for the Fonz. And then he went to Henry Winkler, who was like kind of an actor who didn't get really a big break. He was in some shows here and there as guest stars. Well, I remember him like the same year as when Happy Days started. He was a guest on the Bob Newhart show, and he gave like Bob Newhart character Bob Hartley a video cassette recorder, which was very high tech back in 1974 and stuff. And then Gary Marshall screened Henry Winkler as the Fonz, and then they say the rest is history. Originally, the Fonz, Arthut Fonzarelli, was going to be a minor character on the series Happy Days and stuff, and Fonzie was actually a high school dropout who rode a motorcycle and looked like a gangster type thing and a hoodlum, and he wore a leather jacket. Originally, ABC did not want like the character Fonzie to wear a leather jacket, so when he was on, he just wore it like when he was riding on motorcycles, and and Fonzie wore it on the windbreaker during other segments of Happy Days for the first year or so. But eventually, Fonzie wore the leather jacket and stuff, and Fonzie became real close to Richie Cunningham and Potsy Weber and Ralph Malph. They became like best friends on the series and stuff, and Fonzie would say hey, and he would always say sit on it and stuff like that, and he developed a very like unbreakable bond with Richie and Potsy and Ralph. It was great. That was good. And by the third season, they had like Fonzie kind of replaced Richie. Had an older brother named Chuck, but he was rarely seen on the first two seasons. And eventually, Gary Marshall and the writers of Happy Days says Fonzie was like actually Richie's big brother, and they written like Chuck out of the storyline, and they said where's Chuck and stuff, but that's another story for another day. Eventually, like Fonzie moved in to the upstairs garage where the Cunninghams lived. That got like Howard Cunningham mad because Howard Cunningham and Fonzie did not really get along in the early part of the series and stuff. But like Arthur, like the Fonz got along with Mrs. Cunningham, Marion Cunningham, and Marion was the only one who called the Fonz by his real name, Arthur and stuff. The Fonz like grew up in a single parent household. He didn't have too much family around. He was actually an auto mechanic and stuff. And also the Fonz was a ladies' man. He was real popular with the ladies and stuff. And he had a long running girlfriend, Pinky Torso, and he had other girls and stuff. Fonzie didn't like settle down until the last season of Happy Days when he adopted a boy named Danny and stuff. And over the years, the Fonz became real big on pop culture and stuff, and he eventually outgrew from an auto mechanic to part owner of Arnold's restaurant, where Arnold's is where like Richie and Potsy and Ralph Malph hanged out after school, and Fonzie would go in there and hang out with them. Fonzie would always have his office in the men's bathroom at like Arnold's and stuff, and it was real good. Like the bond between the Fonz and Richie and like Potsy and Ralph were very special and stuff, and like Fonzie's popularity got so big and stuff. More and more like posters of the Fonz were selling out like crazy in the 70s and stuff. Fonzie was becoming big in pop culture. Like even like President Gerald Ford had like a campaign photo of him like imitating the Fonz in 1976 when he was running for re-election for president and stuff. And there's some urban legends that there was an episode of Happy Days in 1977 when the Fonz applied for a library card. There were rumors that 500. There was rumors the day that episode aired that many people signed up for a library card, but that was not the case and stuff like that. And also, another famous episode with Fonzie in it was when he jumped the shark, which was a very classic episode in season 5 of Happy Days. It was probably one of the most famous episodes of all time on Happy Days. They would always say jumping the shark is when a series was going downhill after they jumped the shark and stuff. By 1980, the season 7 of Happy Days, they changed the cast. Like Richie and Ralph Malph left. Like the characters, like the actors Ron Howard and Donnie Most actually grew tired of playing like Richie and Ralph Malph, and Ronnie Howard was becoming like getting to be like a director and stuff, and he wanted to do movies and stuff. And Donnie Most did not want to really be typecast as Ralph Malph when Happy Days ended and stuff, so he left the series. And then the focus of the series shifted to the Fonz and stuff, which was pretty good, even though I really thought the show was best with Fonzie, with like Richie and Potsy and Ralph as the main focus in the Fonz. But the Fonz was really the #1 character on Happy Days. He had a cousin that was like Chachi Alacola, who eventually married Joni Cunningham and stuff. And like the Fonz called Joni Cunningham Shortcakes, which was pretty good and stuff. And when Happy Days ended in 1984, the Fonz went down in history as one of the most famous television characters of all time, probably the breakthrough character, and it made Henry Winkler millions and millions of bucks. Afterwards, he became a respected actor and producer and director in Hollywood, which was pretty good for a character which is a secondary character on shows. Sometimes they would get really typecast and stuff, and with the character the Fonz, it probably could have been a potentially typecasting role for Henry Winkler, but it became a iconic role and stuff. And Fonzie's leather jackets is in the Smithsonian Institution in Washington D.C., so that's famous and stuff, which is awesome. And Happy Days is still on the air. Reruns on many networks over the years and stuff, and it's famous. And the Fonz is famous for saying "hey," and everybody would cheer for that. And that's about it on the Fonz. Maybe in a few weeks I could do a video blog on the entire series of Happy Days, which lasted 11 seasons on ABC, which is probably their most successful television sitcom of all time on ABC. It spawned several spin-offs, and like Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, Joni Loves Chachi, and a few Saturday morning cartoons. Well, that's about it on the Fonz, and I'll be back for the third and final video blog tonight, which will be about Fox Sports North. Bye now. Have a good day, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.